So we really want this call to be something that you can use practically as a Beachbody coach to be able to take the Enneagram wisdom and make it work for your business, where you can find your place in Beachbody coaching. If you feel like, well, maybe my personality type doesn't fit here, it absolutely does. And we're excited to help you find that, and then also discover how the Enneagram can help you personally grow, and also how the Enneagram can help you encourage your challengers and your coaches to grow as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Monique. She's going to start us off and help us get our bearings with the Enneagram in case anyone is unfamiliar, so we can all be on the same page. So Monique, you may have to unmute yourself, but go ahead and take it away, my friend.
All right. Hopefully you can hear me. Thank you, Vanessa. I am so excited to be on here. And as Vanessa said, if you are not familiar with the Enneagram, it is one of those things that can be a huge game changer in your business and understanding yourself better and understanding your team. And so I'm going to go ahead and break it down and just give you an overview of all 9 of the types and a little bit about what it will look like for you as a leader. If you are one of those types, what it would look like. And then Vanessa is going to go into the in-depth of how to lead a team and how to create content specifically for those types. So my background personally, I've been coaching for the last 3 years, and I am also a certified Enneagram coach. And so what I do full time is I go along with businesses and teams, and I help lead them specifically in a way that they can be profitable using their team, understanding their team, the dynamics of their team, where they can speak to those individuals. So I've worked with some Beachbody teams and others who really have seen a lot of progress. And so I really want you guys to pay attention and listen when I give you specifics for each number. And the same thing with the information that Vanessa gives you, because it really can make a huge impact if you feel like you're stuck or you feel like I can't understand why this person's not motivated. So if you are not familiar with the Enneagram, what it is it's a personality system. So it's similar, if you may have heard of other type of personality systems like Myers-Briggs, DISC profile, Strengths Finders, any of those. It sounds like it's similar, but it is very, very unique in that it teaches you what drives you, like your core motivators, your core drives, your core fears, all of those things, how you filter your decisions, and it really impacts the way that we make decisions and the way that we're motivated. And so you may have just started, or you may be feeling like you're frustrated because you're losing people, or you feel like, hey, I'm just going to give this a couple months because I'm not sure if this is the right thing for me. But hang in there and recognize that this can be the right thing for everyone if we understand what it is that motivates us. So I'm going to share my screen and show you a couple different concepts about the Enneagram, but specifically, so if you look at this center graphic here, so if you see this, there's 9 different types that all of us are, okay? So each of us is one of the 9 types. And if you don't know what your number is, at the end, we'll give you kind of a rough idea of how to figure that out. But the 9 different types are, let's pretend that each of us here is a different color. So if I'm a 3, I'm green. If someone is a 7, they're red. If someone's a 5, a yellow. Let's pretend that all of us are wearing a pair of sunglasses that are tinted that color. So if I am a 3, my sunglasses are green. So everything that I am seeing in the world has a green tint. Everything that I'm hearing has a green filter. And then if someone over here has a pair of red sunglasses and everything that they're seeing is red, and the tint, that they have, the filter that they have is red, I may get frustrated because I'm like, I'm over here with this filter and they're over here, and I'm not understanding why we're not communicating. I'm not understanding why they're not seeing things the way that I am. And it's because we're all wired differently. So the first thing I want to show you is that there are 3 different types. These are called triads. There's 3 different types of ways that we process decisions. So this is important because as you are working with your challengers, you may have challengers that start the program. They may start a nutrition program. They may start a workout program and get a week into it, and then they're frustrated and quitting, or they keep falling back to old ways and they can't figure out why. And this is one of the different ways that it helps you kind of understand how all of us are wired differently. So, for example, up here at the top in the blue, you're going to see where it says the gut triad or the instinctive center. So these 3 numbers, so this is the 8s, the 9s, and the 1s. So this center filters decisions through their gut instincts. Typically, they just know things. They know right from wrong. They can make decisions quickly, that kind of thing. So they tend to struggle with anger, and their desire is to have justice. So it's important for you to know this. It's important for you to know that these 3 types of people desire justice because they're going to have a really strong sense of right and wrong. So for the 8s, the 9s, and the 1s, it plays out differently. So for example, the anger can come out for an 8 by it just coming out vocally. For the 9, they can suppress their anger. And then for the 1, it can come across as sideways criticism or resentment. So that's something to just keep in mind as you're leading a team and as you have challengers, that if you start seeing some of this stuff, just be aware, hey, this person could be filtering things through this way. And then over here, the 5s, 6s, and 7s, they filter decisions through their thinking. So this person's going to need a lot of data. They're going to need a lot of research. They're going to need to look things up. So they may ask you several questions about Shakeology. They may say, hey, I'd love to know about the ingredients. They may take a while when making decisions because they're really thinking through and weighing the pros and cons of it. So their emotional struggle is anxiety, and their desire is to have security. So it plays out differently with each of the numbers. The 5s get their security through their knowledge. So they want to know a lot. They want to be knowledgeable. They want to be aware before they take action. The 6s get their security through community and groups and having a trusted authority. So they really thrive off of having that community and just feeling a sense of loyalty. And then the 7s get their security by being involved in everything. So these are the type of people, they're always at Summit, they're always at Super Saturday, they're involved, they're typically a stronger personality, they like to be involved, they like to have people around them, and that's where they find their security. So that's helpful to be aware, because if you start to see that in someone, you can recognize, hey, it's really important for them to have security, and that's something that's going to be driving them. And then over here, the 2s, 3s, and 4s, they filter things through their feelings. So that's the heart triad. So their emotional struggle tends to be shame, and their desire is to have significance. So, it's kind of interesting because I find that a lot of times we end up with a lot of 2s, 3s, and 4s in the Beachbody business. And I think a lot of it is because of that ability to get significance through the things that you do. And so for the 2s, they gain their significance by helping other people. So the more that they help and they serve, they find that their significance is found there. The 3s get their significance through their work. And so they're achieving their accomplishments, recognition, that's where they're finding their significance. And then the 4s get their significance by being unique and different. And so this is really important because if you have a team and you understand, hey, this person's desiring significance, you can play into that and really leverage how you can speak to those specific numbers. So I hope you guys were able to see that graphic. Give me some nods. I know we're on mute here. But if you can relate to that, if you're like, yes, I am in the heart center and I filter through my feelings and I desire significance, like if you can relate to some of that stuff, you can see how that can make an impact in how you're leading your team. So I'm going to go ahead and just real briefly break down each number, and specifically if you are that number, how you can lead as that number. So if you are someone who is a type 1 is the perfectionist. They're called the moral perfectionist. So they tend to know right from wrong. They desire for things to be done well. And so a lot of times as you're leading, you might be nitpicky, or you might in your mind want to be critical of something that one of your coaches has done, or something that someone in your challenge group has done. But my encouragement to you is to focus on the big picture. Don't get caught up in the little details, because it's going to be very tempting for you to get caught up in the minor things, but really have a focus on the things that matter as a whole in your business, because you're going to be hard on yourself as a one. Ones are very hard on themselves, but they also have high expectations for the people around them. And so just don't let that wear you down as a leader, and really focus on the big picture of things. Okay. Type 2 is going to be the helper, the supportive advisor. So as a type 2, you are very much a relationship-oriented person. That is going to be on the forefront of your mind. You're always focused on relationships. You're always focused on how you're helping people, how you're serving people. And so my encouragement to you as a type 2 is you're going to naturally be inclined to help people. So a lot of times you can tend to struggle with boundaries. You may give a lot of your time in doing one-on-one calls with people, walking people through things at a point where they really should be able to do that on their own. And so sometimes you may cost yourself money. And what I mean by that is you may not be doing things that are income producing activities. You might be doing things that are keeping you busy, and you feel like, oh, I'm really involved with this person, I'm really helping this person, but there's no income that's being driven by it. And so we have to recognize, yes, we are absolutely in this to help people, but at the end of the day, this is a business, and you have to run it like a business. It's not a charity. So my advice for type 2s is to make sure that you are setting those healthy boundaries. Okay, so the type 3 is the successful achiever. So if you're a 3, you really want to be accomplished, you want to be dynamic, you want to be someone who's efficient. And so as a type 3, you are very motivated. Typically, you're very disciplined, structured. I'll go ahead and tell you, Vanessa and I are both type 3s. I don't know if we should have confessed that. Vanessa, if you want to chime in as a type 3. But you tend to be people who are very disciplined, very structured, and sometimes, I'll admit it, you can be workaholics. And so when you're leading a team, this is something to be aware of, because type 3s, they just wake up with this drive. Like they wake up and they're ready to go and they're ready to work. But you have to recognize that everybody else is not wired that way. And so when you have that drive in you and you're like, okay, I've got this huge goal. Come on, everybody else, come on with me. Other people may not have that same drive. And so you have to, as a 3, my advice to you is to meet people where they're at, and also set personal boundaries for yourself so that you're not becoming a workaholic. So like for me, for example, one of the things that I have to do in our family is I have to set work hours. And so my husband and my kids know, hey, I work until this time. From this time to this time, this is when I'm working. And then mom is off and with the family. So a lot of times you have to do that as a type 3 so that you do not get into the pattern of becoming a workaholic. Okay, so the type 4 really thrives off of being unique and different. So this person is very in tune with their emotions. They're a very good listener. They're someone who's typically very artistic, creative. They have their own style. Usually they just have a creative flair to them. They're artsy. They have their own like clothing style, hairstyle. And so this person, as someone who is a leader, my advice to this person is to make sure that you are keeping your emotions in check, because a lot of times as a 4, you can get, because 4s of all of the numbers in the Enneagram, they're the most in tune to their emotions. And so you want to make sure that you're not letting that spill over into your business and that you're keeping that in check. You also, as a leader, so those of you who are on this call, I know that a lot of you have teams. And as a leader, there is a time for vulnerability and being transparent with your team. And then there is a time where you really need to keep your emotions in check and go to your upline if there's something that you need to vent about or things like that. Never let that spill into your downline. So my encouragement to type 4s is to really keep that in check. Okay, so the type 5s, Type fives are very much wanting to get their value and their worth through their knowledge. And so as a five, typically, so the type fives are people who are so they're called the investigative thinker. They're very knowledgeable. They do a lot of research. But one of the things about the type five is that they have a limited amount of energy that they can give to the world. So let's pretend that all of us, like say your cell phone battery, say you walk out of your house and you have a full charge on your cell phone battery. And you know, okay, I've got this much to last me throughout the whole day. You kind of are aware of, okay, if I make a phone call or if I'm on, texting or whatever, and you've used some of it, you're aware of how much you have left, okay? So for the type fives, when they leave their house in the morning, they start off the day with literally like half of a charge of their battery. So the reason I say that is because they can tend to be drained. They can tend to get drained very quickly. So if you are a type five, you have to be aware of, where do I need to put my energy? And my encouragement to you is to conserve energy and save energy for your team and the things that are going to move you forward. So if you know, hey, I've got to do my vital behaviors, maybe it's smart for you to do it first thing in the day as opposed to waiting until the end of the day when you know I'm going to be drained. So for those of you who can relate, and maybe you're not even a type five, but maybe you can relate to the fact that you know that you tend to get drained and that you're not your most productive self later in the day. So if you know, not if that's you, I can see y'all, I can't hear you, but I can see you. So not if that's you. If you know that about yourself, set your alarm 30 minutes earlier. Get up 30 minutes earlier. You can knock out your vital behaviors. You can do the things that you need to do at the point in the day when you have the most energy so that you're not doing it at a time when you're drained and you have nothing left to give. Okay, so the type six is very much about loyalty. So they are really committed to relationships. They're really committed to being a person who's loyal and keeping their word, having a community. They get a lot of their value and their worth through a trusted authority. Remember, I had talked about the 3 different parts that they're in. They're in that section where they really get their validation through security and safety. And so a lot of times the type 6 can really struggle with anxiety. And so if you are a type 6, my encouragement to you is to find within yourself the ability to lead. A lot of times 6s feel like they have to go to someone else to take charge. They feel like they need that extra validation. They need someone else to say, okay, I'll do this with you, or yes, you're doing a great job. Like they need that affirmation. But if you are that number, recognize that you have the ability in you. 6s are very disciplined people. They tend to be good leaders if they trust in themselves and the ability that they have to lead, that they don't need that affirmation to take charge and lead. So who of you can relate to that, where you feel like, hey, I'm more comfortable if someone comes alongside me, but deep down, you know, you have it in you to do what you need to do. So keep that in mind. All right, so type 7s. 7s are one of my favorite people. So type 7s are people who very much like to be involved in everything. I like to say the FOMO, the fear of missing out. They like to be at every party. They like to be at every event. If they're invited to 2 things in one evening, you know, they'll go to one for an hour, then another one for an hour. You know, they just like to be in the mix of what's going on. They're also, of all of the 9 numbers on the Enneagram, 3 of the 9 numbers are stronger personalities. So the 7s tend to be more of a stronger personality that steps up and leads. And so when you have the combination of someone who is a leader and somebody who has the ability to bring the fun with them, you really have a dynamic person there who can have a really impactful team because they are bringing people alongside them. So I would encourage you to leverage Summit, leverage the Super Saturdays, leverage all of those things where there are events going on and bring people alongside you. If you are a 7, post those things on social media. Share with people on social media all the fun that you're having, because you're going to attract other people who also want to be a part of something like that. Okay, 2 more numbers. So the type 8 is going to be somebody who takes charge And the type 8 is someone who is a leader, somebody who is, they have a stronger personality. They are not willing to back down. So of all of the 9 numbers on the Enneagram, the type 8 tends to be the more aggressive of all of the numbers. This is actually called the protective challenger. And so it's called that because they challenge things. They don't back down. Sometimes as a leader, if you're a type 8, these people may come across as sometimes a little abrasive or harsh, but they tend to have some of the softest hearts of all of the numbers on the Enneagram. They just have a hard shell where it may not be visible just talking to them and recognizing that. So if you have an 8 on your team, typically they are a workhorse. Like they get things done. They don't need someone giving them direction. But as a leader, if you are a type 8, it's good for you to recognize, hey, I'm going to be a stronger personality. And my encouragement to you as an 8 is to really try to soften up a little bit of that, because your inclination, so I'm married to a type 8, so I can tell you from personal experience, the Enneagram has been amazing for our marriage because we've had so many conversations about this. But the type 8, Kate, are you saying you're an 8? Oh, you're married to an 8.
She's married to one, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you can understand this. So we've had many conversations, and the type 8, they're always shocked when you say, hey, I feel like you may have hurt my feelings, or I feel like you may have kind of run over me with this conversation. They're literally shocked because when they say things, they have no idea that it comes out the way that it comes out. So if you're an 8 and you think, oh, that might have been a little bit harsh, like if you think it might have been a little bit harsh, just recognize, like, yes, it absolutely was a little bit harsh. So the 8s really have to soften because they kind of see everyone around them. I actually interviewed my husband for a course that I was teaching. I said, hey, I need you to tell me, for the type 8, what does it feel like to be an 8? And he said, well, everybody just kind of needs to get their own feelings in check. But you can't say that, okay? So I'm just telling you, because the 8s tend to think that everyone around them is sensitive. They're like, everybody else is just sensitive. They need to get it together. But as an 8, you need to lead with compassion and with heart, and kind of slow down and listen to the people who are on your team. Listen to your challengers when they approach you and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this, or hey, can you help me with this? Stop for a moment, take off your sunglasses, like we talked about the different colors, take off the color that you're wearing and put on their color, and have a little compassion for them. Okay, last one, and then I'm going to turn it over to Vanessa. So the type 9 is the most passive of all of the numbers on the Enneagram. So the type 9 really gets a lot of their peace and their comfort from avoiding conflict. So they're going to avoid conflict at all costs. And so sometimes you might just initially think, okay, well, that may not necessarily be someone who's a leader, but if you're a 9, you can definitely be a leader in just recognizing that your presence matters. A lot of times 9s feel like people run over them, people talk over them, they don't get an opportunity to speak their mind, they go along with the flow. But really, if you look at the way that our business is built, and if you look at the 4 vital behaviors, and realizing that if you just focus on the 4 vital behaviors, you don't have to be a personality that's loud. You don't have to be a personality that's out up front and needing recognition and praise. You can lead quietly, and you can lead effectively and have just as much of a dynamic team as someone who is quiet and leads with a confidence, a quiet confidence in what you're doing, instead of feeling like you have to be somebody who is out up front. Okay, so Kate says one of the most successful on the team is a 9. Emily, okay, yes, that's absolutely a great point, that you can be somebody who is a successful leader and be a type 9. So I will stop there, and I will let Vanessa take over. I'm 5 minutes over when I was supposed to talk, so I'll let Vanessa take over.
No, that was so good. And it is really hard, guys, to go succinctly but thoroughly through every single number in the Enneagram. So Monique, that was amazing. So impressed. And one of our biggest heart in doing calls like this for our Beachbody coaches especially is twofold. First of all, we believe so much in what you guys do as coaches, the way you transform lives. And second of all, we believe that there is a place for every number in coaching. And sometimes it can feel like the bigger numbers that are more flashy, more aggressive, or, just really those tender-hearted numbers are just going to thrive. But there is really a place, truly, truly, for every single number. And we need every single number on our team. We need every single number contributing what they have to give. So I'm going to go over, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I'm going to go over how each type in the Enneagram how to create content that's going to speak to each type in the Enneagram, and then how to lead coaches in your downline, each type in the Enneagram. Because as we know, being a successful coach means that you're able to attract people to decide to commit to a fitness journey or to building a business. And then after you attract them, you have to be able to have the skill to lead them to transform their lives, whether that's as a challenger or as a coach. And so a lot of times it's easy to work with those people who are the same as you. And then it's challenging sometimes to work with people who aren't. So I'm hoping that this will give you a great framework to be able to create content that appeals to people of all types, and then also to lead them. So let's start with type 1. Type 1, when you're creating content, the type 1s are always wondering, am I good enough? Am I doing this right? Am I, performing well? And so when you speak and you share a post that's going to invite people into your challenge group, you want to speak to the self-worth that we all have intrinsically. You want to speak to the fact that we don't exercise and eat well to beat our bodies into submission, into a perfect body type, but we eat well to honor the fact that we are already worthy just as we are. Type 1s can struggle with thinking that there is one perfect body type, and I must achieve that to be successful in my endeavors of health. And so the truth that we want to speak to type 1s is that every body type is beautiful, and that we are all different, and that that's okay. So when you're creating content and you're speaking these messages, you're going to hit type 1s right in the heart. You're going to hit them where they need that truth, where they need that realization. Now, shifting over, when you are leading coaches, if you have a type 1 that's in your downline, they're amazing because they have a keen eye for observation. They see and they can observe and perceive how things can be done better. And the best way, so when you are a leader of a team, the best way to have a strong team is to start empowering your coaches to feel like they have something to contribute. And that can be very difficult because a lot of times when you sign up a new coach, they can be very nervous. I'm new. Do I really have much to contribute or share? Do I really have a place here on this team? And the quicker you can have your coaches buy in and be contributors in your team, it grows their confidence. It grows the strength of your team. And you're going to start be able to create that team where you have multiple diamonds in your downline because they have confidence. They're contributing. You're coming together as a team. You're stronger together. So having a type 1 and inviting them by a simple question of how can we make this better is an incredible way to allow that type 1 to press into their strength, which is to always see things that could be better. And you're inviting that critique. Now, as Monique said, sometimes 1s can get a little frustrated when things are not right. And so if they share with you how things can be better, don't take it personally. Don't take it aggressively. Take it as they are really, truly trying to be as helpful as they can. They are really, truly trying to make the challenge group or the coach training or whatever it is you're working on as good as it can possibly be. They're always striving for excellence, and that's a gift. One way that you can challenge your type 1 coaches is that done is better than perfect. They're always going to want to continue to tinker with something until it's perfect, whether it's a post, whether it's a challenge group template, whatever it is that they're working on. You as their leader are going to need to come in and really mentor them and help them to know that done is better than perfect so they can take action and not get stuck in that perfection without taking any forward motion. So let's move into type 2s. If you're going to create content that is going to speak to the type 2, You have to understand that type 2s will always put themselves last. Type 2s think that they have no needs. Type 2s think that their time is always better spent helping others and giving to others. The self-care message is vital for type 2s, and you're going to have to tell them like 500 times. You cannot just tell a type 2 one time and then be like, well, I did a post on that 5 years ago, so they should know that self-care is important. It's something you're going to have to constantly be talking to a type 2 about. And not only when you're creating public content, but even when you're having one-on-one invite conversations and you have a sense that this person might be a type 2, they tend to always say, well, my children need new bathing suits this month, so I can't buy a challenge pack. Or, well, my husband needs to go to this thing, so I can't buy a challenge pack. And you start to hear the excuses that they're always putting themselves last. Again, take that role as a coach. And I really firmly believe that as coaches, we need to not be afraid to tell our clients and even tell the coaches in our downline, this is what's going to make you a success, and have confidence. Like a football coach is not going to sit back and say, well, if you want to practice, you can, guys. I hope you win on Saturday. Like, no, a coach is going to say, this is what's going to make you stronger. This is what's going to make you win. I'm the coach. I'm here to make you a success. And the same thing for us as coaches, not in an abrasive way. We're not going to be like shouting in their faces with spit flying everywhere like a football coach might, but we can have permission to say, and a little bit of confidence to say, listen, I see you always putting others first. You cannot light yourself on fire to keep others warm. That will not work. I know that this is what's best for you. And with a type 2, that's so important for them to hear. When you have coaches on your downline and you're leading those type 2s, they are amazing with people. They are so nurturing and helpful. They are the ones who are kind of like the glue in your team they're just going to love on everybody. And you want that in your team. You want to affirm them. Never take advantage of a 2. You want to just really encourage them. A word of encouragement goes a long way for type 2s. That's so precious to them. They can struggle with boundaries. Monique talked about this. They can struggle with being taken advantage of because they want to be so helpful. So part of being a coach to a type 2 is to help them set those boundaries, to tell them your time matters and your resources matter, and you need to take care of yourself before you always take care of everyone else. So that's our beautiful type 2s. Now, type 3s, when you are creating content for a type 3, you want to speak. So type 3s want to win. They just want to win so bad. And so when you're making a post inviting someone to your challenge group or a large group of people, tell them how the challenge group will help them win. How is this challenge group going to help them achieve their goals? How is it going to give them more energy? How is it going to help them be able to meal plan more effectively? For 3s, efficiency is like just everything. So if you can help us say, this is how you're going to win, join my challenge group. I'm going to teach you this. I'm going to teach you that. At the end of this challenge, you're going to lose weight. You're going to feel better. Like, to the point, results oriented. Sharing success stories is very inspiring for type 3s because they want to be successful. So if you tell them, I have a system that's going to make you successful, they're all in. So that's an amazing way to create content that's going to really speak to a type 3. If you're leading a coach that's a type 3, they need clear defined goals. They want to know what's expected of me. How do I get there? What's my clearly defined goal? They want to know Success Club is perfect for a type 3 because they want to know, okay, I'm going to help 3 people. I'm going to do it by this date. And if I do, I get on this leaderboard and I have my name up in lights. Awesome. Like, that is so just life-giving for a type 3. Public recognition is everything for a type 3. One thing that you are going to need to do, though, as a coach is check in on them when they miss a goal. And by miss a goal, I mean if a type 3 wanted to hit Emerald in 1 week and it took them 3 weeks, and you're thinking, wow, you hit Emerald in 3 weeks, that's awesome. In their minds, they are a total failure because they hit Emerald in 3 weeks and they wanted to do it in 1. So you've got to check in on them and help them to remember that success comes through failure, because that's going to feel very unnatural for a type 3. So just keep that in mind. Other numbers may not care, but a type 3, you just want to be there to like, hey, how you doing? You're still a success. You're still awesome. Success comes through failure. Let's keep going, my friend. Like, don't let that stop you. All right, type 4s. Type 4s, if you're going to create content for a type 4, because they feel that they are so unique and so special, and they really are, they can also struggle with feeling like, I'm the exception to the rule. This will work for everyone else, but it won't work for me. This fitness program is probably great, but I won't be successful with it. So showing them success stories from a variety of body types and different lifestyles can help them to start opening up and saying, maybe it will work for me. They'll still think that it won't, but it gives them at least a little bit more reason to believe that they can be successful with your challenge group. Also, type 4s really want to be heard and seen and understood. And so if you're having a one-on-one invite conversation with someone who seems to be a type 4, and make sure you ask them some good questions. Ask them about their history with dieting, ask them about their history with fitness. And if they start to share, really hear them out, because the worst thing you can do with the type 4 is to kind of cut them off and be like, oh yeah, I know what you're going through. I totally get it. That happened to my uncle or whatever. They're going to be like, I am a unique flower and you don't know. Like, they want you to hear them out. And that's a very, a way that you can be very respectful to them and really prove to them and build trust with them that you are listening, that you're going to be a great coach for them, because you're going to really hear all the details of what's going on in their life, because they are unique. Now, if you have a coach on your team who's a type 4, they are amazing with branding, understanding others, and expressing emotions. I mean, I will feel an emotion for like 3 seconds and be like, whoa, that was weird. I just felt something. Oh. And then a type 4 can take that same emotion and write like a 5-paragraph, essay on it that just makes me want to cry, because they put words perfectly to this emotion that I felt for 3 seconds. And you can feel so connected to type 4s because they just have this way of emoting and expressing these tender things that we tend to just pass over quickly, most of us. So they can be great. People really connect with them. They can be great coaches. They're very unique. They set themselves apart from all the other coaches. And people want to be a part of what they're doing. But with type 4s, even though duplication is important, and we talk about this a lot in Beachbody coaching, that duplication is key, don't force 4s to duplicate and be cookie cutter like every other coach. Don't chastise them for it. Don't tell them like, stop recreating the wheel. They have to recreate the wheel. They just have to. And that's okay. That's beautiful. They are very hard workers and they're very ambitious, and they'll still be successful. And they don't need to necessarily be that cookie cutter coach. Like some of us are just fine with that, because that's just a quicker way to success. But type 4 is not so much, and that's okay. Monique mentioned this. They do need to, if you're going to mentor a type 4, make sure that they have that discipline. And that discipline is something that they cultivate over just going with the emotion. Because as we know in this business, consistency is everything. And if you're not able to stay consistent on the high days and on the low days, you're really going to struggle in your business. So really encouraging them to be consistent, it's going to make them healthier as a person in general, but also with their business. Type 5s, when you're creating content for type 5s, you want to give them facts and data. They will nerd out with you on the ingredients of Shakeology. They will nerd out with you on the performance line and how it is like tested and Harvard scientists developed. But do remember, we sell solutions, not products. You still need to, whenever you are talking about a product, like I don't buy Energize. I buy that magical drink that gets me through the afternoon when I am in a slump and my kids are going crazy and I still have to make it to dinner and bedtime. I buy a solution to my problems, not a product. And that's how everyone is. And so even though type 5s, you do want to give them facts and data, make sure there is a story of how you are solving a problem for them with facts and data also. So that would be a great way to just catch a 5's eye, that you know what you're talking about. You could talk about the Harvard stuff, but you're also sharing it in the sense that this is a solution to your problem. And then type 5s, it has to make sense. What you're offering them has to make sense. It has to be concrete instead of abstract. So whereas with the type 4, you could maybe get away with a post that says something like, come and join me, change your life, you'll never be the same. New challenge group starting in a week, with a picture of you like in a field of flowers going like this. That will totally, like a type 4 will be like, okay. But a type 5, it has to make sense. So okay, what are you inviting me to? Who, what, when, where, why? What are you inviting me to? When does it start? What are we going to do? What's my commitment? So the more that you can make it concrete, it's really going to speak to them, and they're going to be more willing to jump in and join you and be a part of what you're doing. So when you have a type 5 coach on your team, they are a source of great wisdom. Again, invite that contribution. Take that type 5 coach and ask them, hey, can you explain to us how volume works? I guarantee you any 5 coach you have in your downline knows how volume works. They have figured it out and they have researched it. Invite them from their comfort zone to be a part of the team. The part of the team conversation. Type 5s are a withdrawing number. They're not going to volunteer to lead a team call. But if you invite them to come and teach, they are fantastic teachers. They know so much. That will give them the confidence and to feel like they are a part of the community and a part of the team. Type 5s can be very ambitious, driven, and hard workers. But one way that you can challenge them as their coach is to be a little bit more vulnerable, to open up, to be more a part of the community, to interact and share a little bit. And 5s are very private, definitely want to respect that, but we can also challenge them to open up just a little bit more. Type 6s, when you're creating content for a type 6, the community is key. So the message that you want to say with your posts is that you are not doing this alone. I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with type 6s and we've had one-on-one conversations. I'm inviting them, they're asking questions. We'll get to the questions in a minute, but they're asking questions and they're kind of hesitant. And the minute I tell them, remember, you're going to be a part of my private challenge group and you're not going to do this alone. We're going to be there for you. It's like, oh, I'm in. They're ready to go because that security, that community is so important to a type 6. Now they do have a lot of questions. They want to know that they're called the questioner sometimes or the skeptic. That doesn't mean they're not interested. That means they are very interested. So be patient, answer all the questions, do it confidently. You know this stuff. And if you don't, GTS, Google that shit. Like you could figure it out and answer their questions confidently and that will win them over. They will definitely be like, okay, I've asked all my questions. I'm super interested. I'm not doing it alone. I'm in. That's a great way to just really help them to jump in with you. Now, if you have coaches on your team that are 6s, they are that glue for the community. They're just so great. I love, 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 love 6s. You do want to build up that internal confidence for them though, because they can tend to want to look to an authority figure. Hey, am I doing this right? How does this post look? Is it right? What do you think about that invite? Is it right? And constantly looking outside of themselves to know that they're doing the right thing. But they know a lot more than they think. And the more you can affirm them and say, well, I don't know, what do you think? Pushing the question back to them, saying, well, how do you think we should approach this? And if they can take a minute and look inside themselves, they'll find that they do know what to do. They do know the answer. They are so competent. They are so capable. They are so courageous. They just need to be reminded of it every once in a while. So as a good coach, turn it back to them, make them trust in themselves, and you will have an incredible leader. Like, get to know your 6s, because any 6 that you sign up, they're going to be your coach for the next 100 years. They will not leave. Like, they're loyal. They're amazing. One thing you do need to do is check in with them when coaches on your team leave. Just like a type 3 can get really thrown off when they miss a goal, type 6s can really get thrown off if a coach that maybe they looked up to decides to leave, decides to stop coaching. That can be very disorienting for them. So because their community is so important, make sure you take a minute and check in with your type 6 coaches in that scenario. Just provide them some leadership. All right, type 7s. When you're creating content for a type 7, you definitely want to create that FOMO, that fear of missing out, talking about your community. And even if you've seen where some coaches will post like a list of 5 people that they have 5 spots available, and then you fill in a name and then you fill in another name. For a 7 to see a list of potential spots getting taken up one by one, it's just like, oh my gosh, I got to get in on this. Like, I really need to do, like, just that fear of missing out when you're creating content is huge for 7s. And then lots of fun, lots of energy, videos, bright colors, like they love it and they thrive off of it and they bring that to your challenge groups. And so you want to match their energy and also invite them to something that they're going to really enjoy and have a great time at. if you have a 7 coach on your team, they are natural leaders and visionaries. They really are, and they have so much energy, and they're great to be a part of your team. They're optimistic. They will solve problems. They will look on the bright side always. But they can struggle a little bit with discipline and direction. And that's where you as a leader can really provide that structure for them. And with 7s, I always try to give them a goal and a direction, but I don't tell them how to get there, because they like to have options and freedom, but they need to be moving in a certain direction. So it's a small little nuance that I think does make a big difference, because if you box a 7 in, they get really bored and really disinterested and really kind of like, I don't know about this. But if you say, listen, this is where I want you to go, you figure out how to get there. You could try this, you could try that. They love it. And it gives them just enough of a direction to keep them on task and to keep them moving forward. All right, type 8s. When you're creating content for a type 8, type 8s can really be like a tough cookie. They're very skeptical. What's in Shakeology? What's this scam? Tell me the auto ship policy. Like, you got to be honest with them, straight up. Do not try to not that anybody would, but just like, don't even, sometimes if you are not confident, it can come off as like you're trying to hide something. So just be confident with them, be straight with them, and challenge them. They love a challenge. So inviting them to an 80-day obsession, this is going to kick your butt challenge, who's with me? I mean, an 8 is going to be like, well, a challenge, you say? And they'll be so excited about that. A message like, be obsessed or be average. You're all in or get the heck out of here. Like, that is so cool to them. Like, they love that. They love to test their limits. So having a challenge group like that, couching it in that way, will really speak to the type 8s and call them up. And type 8s, I have a special place in my heart for type 8s, because they are such powerhouses, like Monique said. They really can feel like they don't have limits when it comes to physical limits. Like, they don't need to sleep as much as everyone else. They don't need to eat healthy like everyone else. And so type 8s can tend to be kind of unhealthy on a whole, as a, if I'm going to generalize, which I know I shouldn't, but we need them. We need them to have energy and be healthy and be strong. And so to kind of like, it's like a little pet project of mine of like, I got to get 8s healthy. Like, I got to get more 8s healthy because they're so great. And so get on that, guys. Like, let's try to make some content that will really pull them in and want them to be a part of what we're doing. If you do have a coach on your team who's an 8, they are champions of a cause. I have a theory that Carl Deichler may be an 8. And when you hear him talking about ending the trend of obesity, like when they get on that, when they buy in to the mission that we're on as Beachbody coaches, they are just champions. They will just go full speed ahead. They can handle an amazing workload. They have energy, leadership skills. One thing that you will need to coach them on and encourage them in is their compassion and their vulnerability. They will need to learn how to, speak softly sometimes to certain challengers that don't handle, kind of in your face, that kind of energy. And they may need to get vulnerable sometimes and share about times when they're struggling, just because that's what a leader does. And so helping them be their full best selves is going to require you to kind of challenge them in those ways. All right, type 9s. So if you're creating content for type 9s, you need to tell them that they matter. You need to tell them that they need to put themselves on the priority list, because they really won't. Also, type 9s can tend to be very frugal people. And so you really are probably going to get a lot of price objections from type 9s, and probably also type 6s. There'll be a big price objections from both of them. Talk about the value. Talk about the value of themselves. Like, you're valuable, right? You know that you are worth something. You're worth investing in. That may be a new concept, and you need to have patience with them. Type 9s move extremely slowly to make a decision. They really mull things over. So be patient, but then also feel free to just kind of continue to check in on them. Just because it took them 6 months to join doesn't mean they weren't really excited about it on month 1. It just took them 6 months. So don't make assumptions that they're not interested. They just need a little time. If you have coaches in your team that are type 9s, again, they start off slow. They just do. But momentum is powerful. And once they get moving, a lot of times they don't stop, and they just get momentum, and they end up being incredible powerhouses in their teams, amazing leaders, because they really can't understand all perspectives, and they're just this harmonizer, and they really kind of smooth things out. If there's a disagreement, or if there's two people can't see eye to eye, a 9 could just come in and be like, hey guys, and it's amazing. It's incredible. So if you're leading a type 9, you really want to affirm their worth and help them wake up to their own power. Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within, I feel like was just like made for type 9s, because they are giants within, and they just need to awaken and step into that power. So it's just such a great privilege when you're leading a 9 to help them to do that. So that is how you can create content for types that are all the different types, and how you can also lead all of the different types. And, I really am excited for everyone on this call, and I know we have a lot of people who are going to be watching the recording, for you guys to be able to just take your efforts, take your heart, take everything that you pour into coaching, and it's almost like you're just sharpening it. So with the Enneagram wisdom, makes it a little sharper, a little more effective, a little more connecting to people. And we always talk about having that avatar that is just going to be like your perfect person and speaking to them. And the Enneagram really helps you to know like what your avatar actually cares about, what they actually struggle with, so that you can really speak to that. And so one of the things that we've created to be able to help you guys in your coaching businesses is a guide for your challengers, because that's the one piece we weren't really able to speak to. As a coach, you attract people, you mentor challengers in their health journey, and you mentor coaches in their business. And we kind of talked about the content and the coaching, and we never really talked about challengers, but I've created an ebook for you guys. That's the health journey for every type. And this ebook has a page for each type, and it talks about the struggles and tendencies for each type when it comes to their health and fitness journey, things that they're gonna, each type kind of has a different sort of Achilles heel when it comes to their fitness journey. So it's going to go over that. It's going to go over what truth each type needs to hear about body image and about, their nutrition and fitness. And then even what Beachbody programs, both fitness and nutrition, that would be best for that type. So if you have a challenger come in, you can just kind of figure out what their number is and then say, all right, I have a feeling that you might struggle with X, Y, and Z, and they're going to be shocked. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, how do you know? That's totally me. And then you can come in and really speak their language and help them find success as a challenger. So we're going to send that. I'm going to throw a link here in the chat so you guys can sign up for that free resource. But even if you don't, or if you're not able to do it right at the second, we will send it to you also in a message at the end of this call, so that you guys can get that, and again, just be so much more effective as coaches, because that really is our heart for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it back over to Monique. She can talk a little bit about just different ways that you can reach out to us if you need any other help with Enneagram or your teams or whatever. And then we have a little bit of time. I know we're hitting almost the hour mark here, but if we have a little bit of time and you guys have questions, we can maybe take like 2 or 3 questions if anybody has any.
All right. Thank you, Vanessa. So I'm just going to wrap up, and then we'll open it up for a couple minutes of questions. But yes, so there's 2 things that if you feel like, hey, this was such great information, and this was really just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much to the Enneagram that goes in depth into how you can really take this to the next level. And so Vanessa creates a lot of content. I create content. We both are on Instagram, so you can follow her page, the Enneagram Workshop. Is that correct, Vanessa? At the Enneagram Workshop. And then mine is Monique Script Coaching on Instagram. So you can go on both of our pages, watch our stories. We'll have content up if you're like, hey, I just love more information about this. The other thing is we really have a passion for coming alongside people and helping you really understand. So if you're someone that's like, I don't know what my number is, Vanessa's really great about having a resource, a free resource where you can go through and figure out what exactly your number is. She teaches classes on that. I also come alongside teams. And so if you're someone that's like, hey, I'd either like individual one-on-one coaching, or I have a team and I want to learn how to work with my team. I have other Beachbody coaches that I've worked with, and then I've sat down and gone through all of their top coaches, gone through how to specifically lead each one of those. So reach out to either of us, and we would love to just support you in what you're currently doing and really helping you take it to the next level and learn a little bit more about yourself, because it really does start with your self-awareness and then moving into how can I have a dynamic team that is profitable and impactful. And you're going to see a correlation between your growth and your profit. I promise you, the more you know about yourself, the more you know about your team, you're going to be blown away about how that leads to a much more productive business. So let's go ahead and open it up. Yes, definitely make sure that I see where she posted both of our links, and then how to get the free resource. Make sure that you sign up for that. You'll have to put your email to get to sign up for that. But what questions do you guys have? You can either put it in the chat box, or I don't know if we want to unmute everyone. Vanessa, that's up to you.
Yeah, that's fine. Each person can choose to unmute themselves if you want to. Yeah, if you want to ask a question. And we thought we'd just give a little bit of time. I'm actually going to go ahead and stop the recording right now.